Biv know?
It was a draw. I personally, I watched the fight twice, and I can't remember anything other than that wasn't even a knockdown.
Yeah. But he didn't get deducted a point for that or anything. So.
No. So like I said, it was a draw. It was a draw. Like if you can't remember what happened in the fight, it's a draw.
Yeah. So the question I was going to ask
you can't really remember if this person was really beating this person, because it would just boom, 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 boom.
How does the rematch play out if they do fight again? Sometimes not a loss, but something like this, a blemish, might get you back.
It can. You know, it's all up to Tank. It's all about how he feels internally. I think, for him, it's a lot to do up here too. Like all of us. But I think that's what you're gonna get from Roach. That's what you're gonna get at Roach every time. I think it's up to Tank to see.
Expecting him to beat Tank, and then are you expecting him to complete those words and come fight you next?
If he beat Tank, I would love to fight Lamont next. Like if he beat Tank, like literally, if he beat Tank, it's only one fight to make it a lightweight division.
Lamont Roach and Gervonta are back for their rematch in August, and most boxing professionals are clearly tipping the unlikely person to win. Gervonta Davis's rival, Rolando "Rolly" Romero, believes the same man who handed him the first defeat of his career will beat Lamont Roach in their second fight. "I'd take Tank," Romero said of a Davis-Roach rematch, "because I think Tank will make the necessary adjustments."
I definitely felt that.
I truly but that also didn't seem like just Tank in general, and
so is that Lamont and Tank's fault?
And I will tell you this, Tank, I know for a fact, was sparring a 122 pounder, and that was the only person he sparred all camp. Literally all camp, that he sparred a 122 pounder.
Was he tall at least?
No, he's shorter than Tank.
Bro.
Or him and Tank same height. Like I said, Tank wasn't really.
People want to discredit Tank. He's still a pound for pound fighter.
Yeah. What do you think about that fight that happened? You thought it was just an off night, or?
Everybody has an off night.
Romero, whom Davis knocked out in the 6th round of their own lightweight title fight in March 2022 at Barclays Center, isn't sure who won the 12-round fight Saturday night for Davis's WBA 1-35 LB championship. He respects Roach and commended his performance against Davis, but Romero predicted that Davis will learn from the mistakes he made Saturday night at Barclays Center and apply the improvements made in the gym when he encounters Roach again. Romero discussed Davis's controversial draw with Roach and its aftermath with The Ring before a press conference to promote Romero's fight against Ryan Garcia on May 2nd in Times Square. Lamont Roach took every person in the boxing world by surprise that day, Romero said.
Everybody has an off night. Shit, I had a off night with Cruz. Everyone has a night. It's boxing.
You want to run that back with Cruz or what?
Maybe down the line.
Roach is a fucking tremendous fighter, bro. He's a really good fighter, man, dude. He beat Hector Garcia, and then he took the belt from him, and he came up, and I know he's a lot more durable and stronger at 135,
He's also seen Tank the most in previous fights before.
They already had 2 fights.
Yeah, so
I think he even took himself by surprise. Well, I'm not going to say that, because he went in there very confident, very composed. He fought like a real professional, and it was a very close fight. That doesn't take anything away from Tank, though. Tank is a 3-division world champion, one of the greatest fighters of our generation. Lamont Roach had a really good day against him. I feel like that rematch needs to happen, because there are some controversies behind it. The random knee, none of the punches hit him, and it wasn't an aggressive round up until that moment, so it was just out of nowhere, There's a lot of controversy. They didn't count the knee as a knockdown, but if they had, Gervonta would have lost. But like I said, Lamont Roach was very patient, took his time in that fight, and fought like a real professional.
If anybody
2 fights?
Tank and Roach, they fought twice before in the amateurs.
Oh, yeah, I know. Yeah, they had history and they sparred a good amount of times, apparently, and all that stuff, but...
So you think a rematch, do you think this remotivated Tank? And do you think a rematch, Tank just goes in and wins that fight?
I don't know, bro. We gotta see what like if it was a Tank tag.
With the rematch on the horizon, Ryan Garcia has not hesitated to share his prediction, adding even more excitement to the upcoming clash. In an interview with ES News, Ryan Garcia shared his thoughts on the rematch. I got Tank. I think he'll put on a different gear. I think he just thought it would be easier than it was, and thought Roach would fold, and he didn't. Now he should expect a harder fight, and I think he wins the rematch. Garcia's perspective, based on his own experience with Davis, adds a layer of intrigue to the matchup. He suggests that Davis underestimated Roach in their first meeting, and will return with a higher level of intensity and determination in the rematch.
From what I've seen in the fight, I thought Lamont won, and I think the commission does need to do something with that knee, because if they don't, then all of us are going to think we could take a knee anytime we want. You know, they got to do something about it. I mean, they did something about me, you got to do something about other people. You know, rules are rules, right?
Right.
It's, you know, I like Tank though, personally, but a rule is a rule. You can't go and take a knee and then just expect not to be knocked down. You know, you can't get away with it, stuff like that.
When you say 1 foot in boxing and 1 foot out,
yeah.
Ryan Garcia's prediction for the rematch between Gervonta Davis and Lamont Roach has sparked passionate debate among boxing fans. Anticipation for the matchup is high, and Garcia's insights, rooted in his experience with Davis, add an extra element of intrigue. Tease like, all of Gervonta Davis's past opponents want to affirm his greatness by picking him to defeat Lamont Roach. They know that if Lamont Roach wins, it reflects on their own reputations, as fighters who couldn't beat someone they believed was beatable. Undefeated women's boxing, pound for pound, great Claressa Shields is more concerned about Davis's mental state than his in-ring performance. A point she conveyed during a March 28th interview with Fight Hub TV.
Like such a small boxing world that you know what he's really doing?
No, but I mean, from what he said, obviously, I want to retire.
Right.
His demeanor, it's like he don't really want to box no more. Telling people don't box, you know, kids, you shouldn't box, you know. So it's kind of like he don't really love it no more, you know? You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And that will mess you up, because in a fight, you got to be all the way in. Because when problems, you know, rise in the ring, even if it's a little problem, you got to be ready to snap it in the butt.
Do you think that might light a fire under him? And how does the rematch?
I feel like Gervonta is a hell of a fighter, but I also feel like he needs to get his mental together, Shields said. When I hear some of his interviews, and I see some of the stuff that he's saying, I can just tell that he's not in love with the sport anymore. She later added, I think he would be better, and even a better fighter, if he went and did therapy, like ASAP, because I can tell he's a little sad, a little depressed. He needs to take some serious time to deal with whatever he has to deal with. Shields concluded this part of her response by saying, I think therapy would help Davis in his rematch with Roach.
Gervonta, man, how do you see it? Do you think it goes either way? Like, who's, I don't know, who's it favoring?
I don't know if it's just because I'm getting older now or what, but I feel like Gervonta is a hell of a fighter, but he needs to get his mental together. When I hear some of his interviews and I see some of the stuff that he's saying, I can just tell that he's not in love with the sport no more. I can tell that he didn't get his just due. I mean, it was crazy to hear that he said he got
Props to Shields for trying to look out for Davis's well-being. Later on in that same interview, Shields explained why she believes Roach is destined to win the eventual rematch against Tank. I think Lamont Roach did a great job in that fight. I think if he would have been a little more aggressive, he would have really won. Like a unanimous decision. But he kept stepping off the gas, Shields said. Now that he knows he can take Tank's punch, I think Lamont will be even better. In the rematch, he's going to take those punches, he's going to give those punches back, and he's going to step on the gas in this fight.
I think he would be better, and even a better fighter if he went and did therapy like ASAP. Because I can just tell like he's a little sad, he's a little depressed, even before this fight, you know. So I think it'd be a better fight. I think that Lamont has the mental edge. I think anybody right now would have the mental edge over Tank, because to me he just needs to take some serious time to, like, you know, deal with whatever he's having to deal with. But
right now, I think that Roach wins the rematch. only because I think Tank is so frustrated with other parts of his life that it's hard for him to give his all in the ring, Shields continued. I've got Roach in the rematch. Before the first fight, female heavyweight champion Claressa Shields, a sworn enemy of Gervonta Davis, surprisingly gave a very balanced prediction.
Here's real quick to Tank and Lamont Roach. Is that the right opponent for Tank?
I don't know why everybody is kind of sleeping on Lamont, but he has a decorated amateur career too. He's a very sturdy kid. He's very skilled. Tank is Tank. And when I say Tank is Tank, I mean like he's a bad man. He can fight. He's tough. I know we had our dispute back and forth, whatever. But at the end of the day, if we talk about just boxing.
Hey, absolutely.
I don't know why everybody's kind of sleeping on Lamont, but he has a decorated amateur career too. He's a very sturdy kid. He's very skilled. Tank is Tank. And when I say Tank is Tank, I mean he's a bad man. He can fight. He's tough. Of course, you wouldn't expect Claressa Shields to forget their feud in a hurry. Hence, she added, I know we had our dispute back and forth or whatever, but at the end of the day, if we're talking just boxing, he's a good fighter, and I look forward to watching that fight. When asked if it was worth a pay-per-view ticket and whether she planned to buy it, she replied, I've always bought any fight that Tank has had on pay-per-view, and I think that Lamont Roach is worth watching. I think this fight is going to be very technical, very skillful, and, as always, we're going to see the power of Tank on display. Let the best man win this.
And I look forward to watching that fight.
Is this a pay-per-view fight though? Would you buy it? Are you gonna buy it?
I bought any fight that Tank has had pay-per-view. And I think that Lamont Roach is worth watching. I think that this fight is going to be very technical, very, very, very skillful. And as always, we're going to see the power of Tank on display.
Absolutely. And Lamont Roach, do you have a relationship with him?
I know him from the amateurs too.
Okay.
Stevenson told The Ring that he envisions Gervonta Davis having just as much difficulty with Lamont Roach in their immediate rematch on the 16th, as the left-handed knockout artist did during their first WBA lightweight championship match on March. First at Davis and Roach fought to an infamous majority draw at Barclays Center in Brooklyn. Baltimore's Davis was a 1.61 favorite, according to DraftKings, to beat his amateur rival, who had moved up from the junior lightweight division for, their Premier Boxing Champions pay-per-view main event just 2.5 months ago.
But too much confidence against Tank is a recipe for disaster.
But it's low output, high accuracy.
Good body shot there from Tank.
There's another body shot from Davis. Straight right down the middle. Always a weapon against the southpaw. He left hook by Roach in the jab. Nothing there. There's a chopping right hand. Good punch from Roach. In fact, our unofficial scorer, Larry Hazard.
Had referee Steve Willis counted a knockdown when Davis took a knee early in the 9th round, Davis would have lost a decision to Roach. Just a couple of seconds after he took the knee, Davis was assisted by one of his trainers, Cal Van Ford, who wiped away a substance that had gotten into his eyes and blurred his vision. Willis, who didn't call for a break in the action, would then have been within his rights to disqualify Davis for, in effect, calling a timeout. Stevenson, a 3-division champion from Newark, New Jersey, was one of the few fighters who believed Roach would be a difficult matchup in what was widely viewed as a fight to keep Davis busy. In fact, Stevenson said he placed a significant wager on their fight going the distance and won approximately $25,000.
What's your thoughts on it? The Ring Magazine rankings did come out, and we know your accolades, we know what you've done. Keyshawn's made a lot of noise recently, and that's your boy, but what do you think about him being ranked above you?
So what do you think about the rankings?
I mean, if you're asking me personally, Kevin Garcia, I think that you should be ranked number 1.
Okay, so
based on your accolades.
The guy at number 1 is a guy that just had a draw his last fight, right?
Mm-hmm.
So then, what are we talking about? It ain't really nothing to even talk about. It is what it is.
Though Stevenson likes Roach, he wants Davis to win their rematch because the 30-year-old is one of boxing's biggest stars and represents the most profitable option for his 24th professional fight. I would love that fight to happen, Stevenson told The Ring. But I'm not a guy who's just like everybody else saying, it's a rematch, and he's just going in there, and he's going to knock this guy out or make it so much easier. I don't look at it like that. I know that Lamont Roach has been waiting for this opportunity his entire life. I've been in the ring with Lamont Roach. I've been in the gym with Lamont Roach. I know who Lamont Roach is. I went and bet money on that fight because I knew Lamont Roach wasn't going to get a decision, so I bet on the fight going the distance.
Today. So what do you think, considering you were one of the handful of people to pick Lamont Roach, giving him a tough fight? What do you
I think it's
rematch?
dangerous for him to go back in there and fight Lamont. I think Lamont is a hell of a fighter. I can see that going left. So.
Despite Roach's success in their first fight, Davis, the ring's #1 ranked lightweight contender, opened as a 6-1 favorite to win their rematch, according to FanDuel. Stevenson, ranked 3rd by the ring in the 135-pound division, again disagrees with much of the public's perception of their 12-round rematch. When it's a rematch, I don't look at it like everybody else, Stevenson said. I know what Tank is dealing with, so Tank is going to have to be 100% of his best and beyond, because he can't just be his best. He's got to be better than whatever he was the last time. For him to win that fight, it's going to be a very difficult fight.
Yo, I kind of said 154. I probably was stretching it. I'm stretching 154, but I'll fight him at 147. 147, me and Conor could get it in.
Shakur, Johnny Boy Boxing and Fight Night. If you beat Zepeda, do you feel that that's the toughest test of your career? And they'll give you the credit if you win?
Who knows?
I know that me and Tank is the big fight. So it worries me that I don't get my opportunity to fight him as an undefeated fighter with Lamont Roach in front of him. But we'll see. Maybe he will go in there and make it an easy fight. I know. It's something he can work on, Stevenson said. He does agree with FanDuel's odds on his fight with Mexico's Zepeda, which favor him by a 1.4-1 margin. The 2016 Olympic silver medalist will defend his WBC 135lb championship for the 3rd time against Zepeda, in one of 4 fights featured on the ring's pay-per-view show on July 12th at Louis Armstrong Stadium, a tennis venue in Queens.
In process, I think I stopped looking for credit because at the end of the day, once you get the credit, something else happened, they're going to move on anyway, so the credit really doesn't matter. It just matters how I feel, what I feel after the fight. After I go fight with him, if I perform at the highest level of my expectations, I'm cool with that.
Roy Jones Jr., often credited as one of the sport's greatest fighters, has shared his thoughts on the upcoming rematch between the lightweight stars, and he is adamant about who will prevail in August. Speaking to pro boxing fans, Jones praised Roach, claiming he will shock the world once again, but also admits he believes Davis will make the necessary adjustments to ensure he dominates this time around.
Potential fight this year, how do you see it going?
I ain't gonna really think about that yet because I'm waiting after he finishes his fight with Roach. Roach is not just your average everyday opponent. Roach is a person who knows Tank, who's been around Tank his whole life. This is a different fight. You can't put Roach to the side like that. I'm sorry. Now, I'm not saying that he's gonna win the fight. I don't know that, but Roach cannot be this underrated like that. You understand? You gotta understand that Roach came from basically the same ecosystem as Tank came from.
I think Roach shocks the world again, but the only difference this time is that Tank will come with a different attitude, a different personality, and different motivation. I think Roach will do well again, but Tank will be more dominant this time. The fight was initially scheduled for June, but has been rescheduled to mid-August, giving both fighters plenty of time to prepare for what could be the most important night of their respective careers.
Is a very formidable opponent. So I'm not gonna talk about none of that till we get by Roach, because what I'm telling you about the other stuff don't really mean nothing right now.
Okay, let me ask you this, because this did happen.
I'm feeling good always. How you doing?
I'm always good. You're a special fighter. Tank's a special fighter. What do you like about him? What makes him different?
I like that when Tank come to fight, Tank come to knock you out. Tank don't come to just beat you by decision. He come to take you out. He come to try to get the job done best way he can. And he loves to come there and entertain the fans. He's not there to play around. He's trying to smoke you.
Boxing icon Devin Haney and his father and head trainer Bill will surely be tuned in for this rematch. During an April 18th interview on the Cigar Talk podcast, Bill Haney issued a warning to Lamont Roach ahead of his second showdown against Tank. "Lamont, get to work now," Bill Haney said. "Get to work. Don't do too much talking. Listen, have Pops come sit down and talk, because that's what we do. Devin's going to work, and I'm going to talk. So Lamont, get busy, man. Get busy," he added. "That will be another great fight."
And finally, I wanted to get your thoughts on the Gervonta Tank Davis situation. What was your assessment on his fight against Lamont Roach, and what are your thoughts on the knockdown that wasn't called in round 9?
Yeah, I mean, I thought it was a good fight overall. Lamont, I always knew Lamont was, he wasn't coming to lay down. I've been knowing Lamont since we was kids, so we came up in amateurs together. So I knew Lamont was serious. He was coming in there to fight, but he did a lot better than.
One would imagine that Gervonta has all the motivation in the world after his poor first performance against Roach, meaning Roach will need to deliver another masterclass to beat him. The 30-year-old Davis didn't make the necessary adjustments. When a resilient Roach absorbed his hardest punches, pushed their fight to the powerful southpaw, and performed far better than the 16-1 odds favored Davis to do. In their Premier Boxing Champions Prime Video pay-per-view main event, Davis defeated Roach by a score of 115-113, according to Judge Eric Malinsky. However, judges Glenn Feldman and Steve Weisfeld both scored the 12-round, 135 lb title fight a draw, 114 apiece. Davis dubiously took a knee 43 seconds into the 9th round, just after Roach threw a jab at his head.
No, I thought he would, and I thought he won the fight personally. Yeah, the no knockdown, that was like unheard of. It was the first time I've ever seen it with my own 2 eyes, and yeah.
Yeah, you were, you've made some comments. I wanted to see the backflip, and I'm surprised Tank didn't say nothing back to you about that.
Hey, I was just speaking my opinion on it.
Referee Steve Willis didn't count it as a knockdown, nor did he take a point or admonish Davis, let alone disqualify him for sticking his head through the ropes thereafter, allowing trainer Calvin Ford to wipe grease, according to Davis, from his eyes. The failure to count the 9th round as a 10-8 in favor of Roach deprived him of the opportunity to be crowned the new WBA lightweight champion.
The decision is a majority draw.
Regardless, Roach fought at an elite level against an amateur rival whom the Upper Marlboro, Maryland resident promised he would thoroughly test. A fight most boxing fans and pundits dismissed as an unnecessary mismatch. With the rematch scheduled for this summer, expectations are sky high. The highly anticipated rematch between Gervonta Davis and Lamont Roach has captured the attention of the boxing world, and voices within the boxing community have shared their perspectives on the outcome.
The decision is a majority draw.
Garcia, who faced Davis in April 2023 and suffered a 7th-round TKO loss, is closely following the trajectory of both fighters. The lingering question remains, will Davis be able to impose his dominance in the rematch, or will Roach redeem himself and capture the title? And that's all for now. For the very best updates on news, moments, events, and action in the world of boxing, stay connected with us by subscribing to our YouTube channel. Don't forget to turn on notifications to get alerted whenever we drop quality content like this. Until next time, peace.